grace. So the we seeing and receiving grace. This is a supernatural work. Seeing the glory of Christ is a supernatural event. You know it is because there are millions of people who read this and they don't see any glory at all. Right? They read this, they yawn and turn the television back on. There is no glory to be seen in it as far as most people are concerned because they have not been born again by that grace. This is a supernatural thing, this Christianity. It's a weighty, weighty thing. You hear the story. That's what evangelism is. God the Holy Spirit, the grace moving, quickens and opens a spiritual deadness. A light ray of truth and glory and beauty shine in where it had never gone before. It touches a deep part of you that you have never had awakened in your life. You experience something you've never known, namely spiritual perception of divine glory, and you know this is real, and nobody will ever take it from you again. You become not just an advocate for a system, but a witness to a reality. Kind of scary, isn't it? Because we're just playing games if it's not happening. We're just playing games. Trying to turn it into some kind of intellectual system we can learn in Sunday school and then spout out with our mouths and do some religious exercises. Before you're done, you'll get tired of that. It's either real, God is real, the Holy Spirit is real, you've experienced a conversion and you've seen glory by virtue of God's work in your life, and that glory has taken captive of you because Jesus is the most beautiful person you've ever known, and you could never walk away from Him because He's totally compelling to your heart, or you're not saved. That's the way you get saved. Verse 17 begins with for, or because, same word that begins verse 16. Because, let's read 16 and 17 together so you hear it. From His fullness we have all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Where's he going? Why does he bring Moses up? Why does he bring the law up? What in the world? This is hard for me. I had to think for hours about this. Read, think, doodle, draw, think again. Why is Moses brought up here? Why is the law brought up here? What's the point of Moses? Now here's the danger. We know our Paul pretty well here, right? We know our Romans and our Galatians. We love the doctrine of justification by faith alone, apart from works of the law. And we sense the antithesis between the law and grace. And we can quote verses. I got a list of them here in my notes that make grace and law feel like that. And so if you bring all that to this, you're probably going to miss the point. Be careful. Let the context work this for you. Why is Moses brought up here? Now, I'm going to tell you why I think he's brought up. What's going on in this text? Well, what's going on in this text is seeing glory. It's just totally dominant. We beheld His glory. Glory is of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. That kind of language is just really Old Testament. And it's really Old Testament in particular places and with regard to particular persons like Moses. If you were to ask any schooled Jewish person in that century, who's the biggest hero that wrestled his way through to seeing the glory of God? Everybody would say Moses. In spite of Isaiah 6, everybody would say Moses. And I'll read you why they would say that. The first giving of the law, Moses shattered the 10 Commandments because of the golden calf. And after that event and the punishment, God is pulling back. And Moses is desperate for God. In chapter 33 of Exodus, I'll just read them to you. You don't need to try to go there. First, the general statement, the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face as a man speaks to a friend. Whoa, that's intimate. He speaks to him in the tent of meeting out there, comes out, goes back, Joshua stays, loves the fellowship, had a different spirit than all those other ragtag 10 spies who later wouldn't go in 40 years later. Now, he says to God in verse 13, now therefore, if I have found favor in your sight, please show me your ways that I may know you in order to find favor in your sight. So he's pleading, show me your ways. We can't go anywhere. We can't go up. We can't move. If you don't show me your ways and I can see you active and personal in my life, I'm not going anywhere. I can't lead this people. He's wrestling with a sight of God's ways. Verse 17, the Lord said to Moses, this very thing that you have spoken I will do for you, for you have found favor in my sight. I know you by name. And then Moses, since he's on a roll here, pushes it to the limit and says, Moses said, please show me your glory. And God responded with grace. This glory that he's about to show is full of grace. Listen, this is verses 19 following. God said, I will make my goodness pass before you and will proclaim before you my name, the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. But, he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. And the Lord said, behold, there's a place by me where you shall stand on the rock, and while my glory passes by, I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by, and then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back, but my face you will not see. End of chapter 33, and the next thing that happens is the second giving of the 10 Commandments, and it goes like this. The Lord said to Moses, cut for yourself 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. The Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. Okay, that is why I think John brought up Moses. Moses represents in the Old Testament, among all the heroes who had intimate relations with God, the one who most explicitly battled his way through, I want to see your glory. And God answers, you can see the back of my glory, and then when I describe my glory to you, I'm going to describe it to you in terms of grace. And when John reads that, he says, okay, I need to say something about that. That's what's going on in verse 17. I need to relate that to the glory that shows up in Jesus. Okay? So verse 16 refers to receiving grace upon grace. That's then grounded in the fact that in verse 17, through Moses was given law, and through Christ arrived grace and truth, and I think grace upon